So Scott, please take it away.
She said 3 and 4. I said, go. Just some pictures.
All right. Well, good morning. Did you start that?
Yes, sir. I think I did.
As he said, we're going to talk about ladder safety today. And, you know, I always kind of preface this by saying I know that not all of you every day for your job here, maybe you're not getting on ladders every day. Some of you do, maybe when you go out in the field and stuff. But, you know, I've been instructed here sometimes to do things that we do at home. And this is kind of the, you know, honeydew list time of year. It's, there's lots of spring activities that we're working on, and so, you know, think about some of these things that we're going to talk about that they do apply at home as well. Now, OSHA isn't going to come find you at home, but I promise you the ground is just as hard at your house as it is here. So we want to be careful there as well. And I'm as guilty as anyone of, you know, when I'm at home, sometimes I take risks that I may not take when I'm on the job, and that's I guess my right to do that at home is to accept that risk, and at work I can't, you know, I don't have that same right, but still we need to practice good safe procedures at home as well. We're going to talk about the importance of ladder safety. We're going to talk about the common causes of ladder accidents. You know, how are people getting hurt with ladders? And we're going to talk about how do we select and inspect ladders so that we have the right ladder for the job and that we have a ladder that's in decent condition to use for the task. We're going to talk about how to set up a ladder correctly and how to climb and work on ladders safely, and then we're going to even go so far as to say what's a good way to store a ladder and what's a good way to transport and carry a ladder. So we'll do a little pre-quiz here. A common reason for ladder accidents is failure to inspect ladders before use. You think that's true or false? True. You know, not taking a look at those ladders is you know, before we use them. I mean, the time to find out that we have a damaged rung on a ladder isn't when we're 10 feet off the ground and halfway up the ladder. We need to inspect the equipment to make sure it's in good shape. The base of a straight ladder should be 1 foot from the wall for every 2 foot the ladder height from the base to the support. So basically a 2-to-1 rule. Is that true or false? False. What does anybody know what it is? 4-to-1. 4-to-1. Actually, it is 3-to-1. Oh, you're getting it. I promise we'll cover it in the slide.
Good thing Whitehead wasn't.
Well, his knowledge that when he walked in the room, it just kind of transferred.
He was signing in.
If the ladder's defective, we should return it to where we found it and take another ladder and use it. False. And why is that false? We don't want somebody else to come grab it that may not use it. There's things we want to do, you know, and we'll talk about that, but we want to tag them out and make sure other people don't grab that same ladder. It's safe to stand on the top step of a step ladder. We all know that's false. So why does ladder safety matter? Well, a lot of people get hurt. And here's a few examples. This is an individual that was standing on top of a step ladder, lost his balance, fell, had a spinal injury, was off work for 4 months. Another person, 20 feet up on an extension ladder, didn't secure the ladder either at the top or at the bottom. Ladder slid, fell 20 feet, significant injuries. This is very common. We get up and we don't want to climb back down the ladder and reposition the ladder, so we tend to want to overreach, right? I can just get one more foot of painting, or I can just get one more hole drilled, or whatever I'm doing, and we want to overreach. And this is an example where a gentleman named Frank, he was trying to drill a hole, instead of climbing down, he overreached and fell. This is another common thing. You know, I was working on a chimney leaking issue on a second story thing. I had to go up and down and get up on that roof probably 30 different times. And when I was going up to take materials up to help me fix the roof, I didn't want to take 8 trips to get everything up there. So we tend to start packing things up there and not holding the ladder and not having the points of contact with the ladder that we should have, and that causes a lot of problems. And really it's laziness, because you know, when I do the same thing carrying groceries from my trunk to the into the house, I'm gonna have 16,000 bags on one arm because I'm only taking one trip, you know. And it's the same thing on the ladder, only with the ladder it has a little greater consequences. This is just not paying attention to what this happened to be where somebody was climbing up a ladder and they hit their head on overhead obstructions. So what are the most common causes of ladder accidents? There's 3 listed here. First one, using the wrong ladder for the job. That happens a lot, and I see that a lot in a lot of the companies that I work with, is that, you know, people will grab a step ladder and lean it up against something. It's not designed for that. It's not the traction and all at the bottom. It'll slip out on you. And why do you think? What do you think people do that for? Why do they do that? Convenience? Laziness? Don't want to take the time? That other ladder's all the way across the shop floor. I don't want to walk all the way over there and get that right ladder for it. And I'm just going to be up here for a minute. It's just going to take a second. I will. No big deal. I've done it before. Done it a million times. You know, that type of mentality. Well, that 1,000,001 could be that time where that ladder slips out and injury happens. Again, something that we don't want to take that risk when we're at home, but you don't have the right to take that risk when you're at work. Second, ladder in poor condition. As I said, you know, one of the first slides, we have to make sure that the ladders are in good condition before we use them. Looking at all points, and we'll talk about some of the points of the ladder that we need to look at, but making sure that I've reviewed several accidents where ladders slipped because the one little rubber pad was missing off the bottom. That should have been identified in an inspection beforehand, and that ladder wouldn't have slipped. So now you've got metal to concrete instead of rubber to concrete, and the friction wasn't good enough. So making sure ladders are in good condition, and then using ladders improperly. You know, either using ladders for scaffolding or using the wrong ladder for the job. That's the third leading cause of ladder accidents. So let's talk a minute about accident statistics, and these are things that are true statistically with the accidents that were part of this survey. 57% of the accidents involve people holding objects. So not keeping 3 points of contact when they climb a ladder. Everybody knows what 3 points of contact means, right? It means 1 hand and 2 feet, or 2 hands and 1 foot, whatever, but 3 points of contact at all times when you're climbing a ladder. And so it's really difficult to climb a 20-foot ladder with a bundle of asphalt shingles on one shoulder and maintain 3 points of contact at all times. Okay? I will say it's impossible to do. Okay? So when you're carrying something like that, if it's not something that you can carry in your hand and still maintain the contact, then you're doing it wrong and you're risking possible injury. 30% of the accidents involve some kind of problem with the shoes, either muddy, wet, greasy shoes, which cause somebody to slip from a ladder. So 30% of accidents involve that. 53% of accidents involve unsecured ladders at the bottom. Okay, and then 61% of them, the ladders weren't secured at the top. And when I go out to a construction site and I inspect, one of the things I look at is I want to look to see that ladder is tied off. So that first person that goes up that ladder ties it off and makes sure that it can't slide, it can't pull away, and that it's secure. But that first person, has to get up there at some point. And so it's not a bad idea to secure it at the bottom as well, and kind of a double. Now, OSHA won't write you up for it, but it's just an extra thing. And really the goal is for people not to get hurt, not to be in compliance with OSHA standards. So if we have to go a little bit above and beyond the OSHA standard to actually truly be safe, then that's what we want to do. 66% of the accidents, there was an inadequate or no inspection done on the ladder at all. You know, when you think about accidents at home, I mean, and again, I'm not throwing jabs at people because I'm just as guilty, but when I'm getting ready to use a ladder, I go grab it and I use it. I don't always take the time to inspect it. And I'm trying to encourage you and maybe even encourage myself to practice what I preach and to take those ladders and look at them, make sure they're in good shape. So 66% had an inadequate inspection. 73%, it's a training issue. You know, no one was trained on how to use the ladder properly. And I know that, you know, we're a room full of very smart people, and you all think, well, I know how to use a ladder. I don't have to be told how to use a ladder. But, you know, we may all in this room have a lot of common sense. And the thing that you have to understand is that we can't assume that everybody has the same level of common sense that we have. And so people need to be instructed on how to use a ladder properly. So 4 simple steps to reduce the risk of falls. First, inspect the ladders, okay? I've said that several times now, but we want to make sure they're in good shape. Follow the ladder safety rules, whatever they may be. You know, 3 points of contact, you know, using the right ladders, you know, all of those things. So following any kind of safety rules that we have. Use common sense. And that, you know, I hear a lot as a safety consultant, I hear a lot of people say, well, safety is just common sense. And I agree that it is. But I go back to the statement I just made, that everybody doesn't have the same level of common sense. So, but we need to use the right common sense, and we need to trust our gut. You know, when you're in a ladder situation or any other situation, when you think, golly, this is kind of unsafe, I'm not sure about this, guess what? It's probably time to take a step back and look at it and evaluate it and say, maybe I need to change something before I have this accident that might hurt me. So using common sense and avoid risky behavior. You know, what would be considered risky behavior on a ladder? Anybody? Let's brainstorm for a second. Reaching too far. Anything else?
Standing on the top step.
Standing on the top step. Wrong ladder for the job. Carrying too much. You know, not being able to maintain 3 points of contact. What about walking ladders? Anybody ever walk a ladder?
Not lately.
I've done it. I've leaned on the edge of a roof and pulled the ladder up with my feet and moved it over. Horrible idea. Horrible. But it's risky behavior. That was a lot of pounds ago when I did that. So ladder selection. We need to select the right ladder for the job. Things to consider when we're selecting ladders. The first is, how high do we need that ladder to go? You know, is it a 10 foot to the support? Is it 5 foot? Is it, 20 feet? Is it 80 feet? You know, we need to know how high it needs to go. So how high does a ladder need to extend above? If we're using a leaning ladder or extension ladder, how high should it extend above the level that we're going to? Anybody? Go ahead.
3 feet.
3 feet, okay? So if we extend it up 3 feet, now why is that? Why is that so important that we extend it 3 feet? So you have something to hold on to as you step onto the roof. And that's important, but I can get on the roof real easy. I can have the roof stop right here. If this was the top of the roof, I can get on that roof real easy. You know, you're climbing up and you just kind of go on up. It's getting off and getting back on that ladder that you really need that 3 feet to hold on to climb around, okay? So selecting the right ladder for the right height that we need to climb. And then the capacity. You know, check out the capacity of the ladders. And, some of them, I'll just be honest. There's ladders that I'm not going to get on. They're not rated for me, okay? And then I also have to consider all the tool belt and all the materials and all the stuff that I'm carrying up the ladder with me, So All of that has to be considered. Also, we don't want to use metal ladders in 3 different scenarios. Around electricity, okay, because if we come in contact with that electricity, it's conductive, and we want it to either be wood or fiberglass, maybe preferably fiberglass. Also corrosive environments, because the metal will degrade in corrosive environments. And also flammables. Why would we not want to use metal ladders around flammables? Huh?
Creates a spark.
It might create a spark. Okay, that's the only reason. Okay, when we're going to look at ladders, here are the things we're going to look at. We're going to look at the steps or the rungs. Okay, we're going to look to see that they're secure, they're in good condition, they're not bent, they're not damaged, they're not coated in tar and mud and other debris that's going to cause us to slip. So that's one of the things we're going to look at. We're going to look at the side rails and make sure that they're not bent and splintered and you know, that they're in good condition. We're going to look at any of the metal parts, the you know, springs and anything else. The rope that's going to pull the ladder up. So that rope snaps and it comes, an extension ladder comes flying down. That's a problem. Any of the locking devices, we're going to make sure that they're in good condition. Splinters, sharp edges. Look at the safety feet. Okay, I've had Vincennes University, one of my customers. They just had a very significant injury for a contractor that fell because the safety feet weren't in good condition, and it's you know, many thousands of dollars of a workers' comp claim because they didn't inspect those feet on the ladder. And then any kind of damage or dents, that sort of thing, you want to look at that to make sure. So, and again, if we do find out that the ladder is in bad shape, we don't want to use it, first of all. And second of all, we don't want to try to repair it. And then we want to tag it out. Put a tag on it, do not use. Because that ladder that I just talked about that the person fell on at Vincennes University, guess what else? Somebody had taken it out of use. And they had taken it and they leaned it up against a wall. And then what else did they not do? They didn't put a tag on it. So nobody knew that it shouldn't be used. And unfortunately, the next person that grabbed it didn't inspect it and noticed that it shouldn't be used. And he ends up in the hospital. So we want to put a tag on it that do not use. Securing an extension ladder at the top or bottom, is that a safe procedure or an unsafe procedure? Okay. Inspecting the ladder before each use, safe or unsafe? Safe. Carrying tools up and down ladders in your hands, is that safe or unsafe? I know you guys know this, you're just shy not want to say it. Climb a ladder with muddy shoes. Safe, unsafe? Unsafe. Using a ladder with a broken locking device. We know that's unsafe, right? Reaching rather than moving the ladder. Doing that whole foot thing that I told you I'd try. Standing on the second rung from the top of a straight ladder. Everybody always talks about the top rung. What about the second from top? Safe or unsafe?
Unsafe.
It is unsafe. Why is that unsafe?
Stability of the ladder.
You don't have the balance. Okay? When you're on that step ladder and you're on like the third rung down, your shins are leaning into that second from top rung. Okay? And that gives you a point of balance. That gives you a point of reference where to go. And when you get on the second from the top of the top, you don't have that same balance point. Okay, ladder surface or ladder setup, ground surface. It's very important that we put it on nice stable ground, right? That's, you know, when you're cleaning your gutters out and you go put it on the grass and it's been raining, it's probably going to sink in the ground, or one side's going to sink. So we want to make sure it's on good stable surface. Unstable bases. A lot of times people say, well, you know, I need a little extra height, or the ground wasn't real good, so I'm going to go grab that pallet over there and I'm going to set my ladder up on that pallet. It's a bad idea, okay? So we want to make sure that that the bases that we set them on are stable as well. What about doors? If I'm going to be doing some painting on the other side of that door, what do you think I should do? Lock the door, but sometimes that's not possible. You definitely want to make sure everybody knows that when they get ready to open that door that there's a ladder behind that door so that somebody doesn't come busting through it and knock the ladder out from under. I want to make sure that the ladder is properly supported and that, you know, where you're putting it. One time I had a guy come to my house to do some work and he put one leg of the ladder up against the chimney and climbed right up. He went up 30 foot in the air and the ladder was only supported by one leg of the ladder, and that's not a good thing. Never fasten two ladders together, and yes, people try it. And make sure the locking devices are in good shape. So here's that 4-to-1 rule that we talked about. Okay, it is 4-to-1. So what that says is that for every 4 foot of height, I want the ladder to be 1 foot away from the base of the house. And a lot of you have heard me say this before, but what's a good way to do that without actually getting out measuring tapes? And put your feet at the base of the ladder, reach out, and if you can, you know, if your feet are at the base of the ladder, you reach out and grab the side rails, that's a pretty good angle, okay? It may not be exact, but it's pretty good. It's a good rule of thumb. Make sure that there's adequate overlap when you use an extension ladder. For 36 foot of extension, you have to have at least 3 foot of overlap and at least 2 foot when it's smaller than 36 foot. So you want your extension ladder, as you come up, you don't want just 1 foot of overlap between the two sections. You want 2 feet, and then once you get to 36 feet of ladder length, it needs to be at least 3 feet. And then properly secured. Climbing and going up and down ladders, you want to check your shoes. You know, does anybody ever climb ladders in flip-flops?
Yeah.
I see lots of people do it. Don't do it. Get a nice pair of shoes. Maybe tennis shoes aren't bad, but work boots are even better because they're stiffer and they give you that support going up. 1 person at a time. Okay, that's a lot of times if you got multiple people going up a ladder, everybody wants to go at the same time. Wait until everybody's at the top. Face the ladder. Don't come down the ladder like this. Okay? You want to face the ladder. Don't climb too high. That one kind of makes me laugh. Don't climb too high. Well, yeah, but I have to get up there. Carry tools on a belt or shoulder strap. Point being, or carry a rope up there. Tie a rope to your belt when you get up. Then have somebody tie the equipment off at the bottom and then hoist it up. But don't try to carry it up. You want to maintain that 3 points of contact at all times. And never slide down a ladder. And never climb a ladder if you're impaired. Okay? Time to do check the antenna for the game that, you know, you're in the middle of the Super Bowl and your TV goes out and you decide you're going to go check your antenna or whatever. You've had about a 12-pack of beer in your belly, not a good time to do that. Okay? When you're working on the ladder, you want to hold on, keep centered, stay straight and close to the ladder, not too much leaning. Okay, that's when you get yourself in trouble. Move carefully and don't lean too far, reach too high, or try to reposition the ladder while on it. Check the joints of the ladder, test the hardware and fittings, lubricate, you know, moving parts and metal parts, keep it in good working condition. Replace a worn rope on extension ladders. And incidentally, most of the time ladders aren't repairable, but there are types of ladders that have repair kits for them for certain things. So if you have a good ladder and like a Horner ladder, for example, then there's broken parts. Check the manufacturer, and if they have a repair kit for it, you can make a repair to the ladder. If there is no repair kit, then you're not allowed to make repairs to that ladder. Make sure the safety feet are in good condition and make sure the rungs are clean and in good shape. Storing ladders, store securely and out of the way. Short step ladders are okay to store vertically, but longer ladders you want to store horizontally. Don't put materials on top of them. You don't want to get to where you're putting bows in your ladders. lot of people are hurt just carrying ladders, especially now that everybody's gone to fiberglass ladders. What do you know about fiberglass ladders? What, a bad thing? There's lots of good things, but what's one bad thing about a fiberglass ladder? They're heavy, really, really heavy. Okay, so sometimes you need help. Pair up and get help. Balance and center on your shoulder. Be careful around corners and aisles where other people are working. And when you're transporting in a vehicle, it shouldn't be sticking out of the vehicle. Okay. Ladder accidents cause serious injuries and death, and really a lot of the accidents are within our control. Okay, it's within our power to control these things just by using common sense and trusting our gut and not taking these risks that we do. Always choose the right ladder and set up ladders correctly and climb safely. And be careful when you're working on ladders and don't overreach. Okay? Are there any questions about ladder safety? I know a lot of you have been up and down ladders your whole life and you've used them a lot, but I want to take a moment and be safe on them, because I promise you that ground is hard. No questions? If there aren't any questions, then if you filled out the training aid, then turn it in over there, and thank you. Have a great day.
Where you going all dressed up?